A couple days ago, I made a video talking about this story where it appears Disney is trying to end a lot of the DEI programs that they have going on at the company. I'm not going to retread on old grounds right now. You can check out that video here if you want to see my full thoughts on that one. But just to kind of quickly sum it up, Disney is rolling back some of the parts of their company that are responsible for pushing DEI and other things like that. It's unclear whether or not they're actually doing that sincerely or if they're just trying to conceal the fact that they're pushing that sort of thing because they understand with the election of Donald Trump, it looks like the culture has shifted against those sort of things. So they don't want to upset audiences, which could also account for why they're rolling that back in some of their movies that we actually know about so far, like Inside Out 2, for instance. And now with this news coming out, it appears that some of the employees at Disney are upset about this because they want to push DEI. And this isn't too dissimilar to what we saw a few years ago when Florida had their parental rights and education bill go through, where initially at the time, Bob Chapek, the CEO for Disney, was trying to say that they wanted to play neutral and not really upset the government of Florida because they do business in Florida and they rely on them. Well, then Bob Chapek was forced to basically do an apology hostage style video for the employees who are upset about all this. And as a result, they got into legal battles with the government of Florida and lost control of the Reedy Creek Development District and potentially billions of dollars as a result of all this. So it didn't work out too good for them at the time. And now it looks like Disney employees are basically doing the same thing yet again. I have this article from Deadline that's talking about it. So it says, Dissent grows at Disney over perceived capitulation to Trump as DEI initiatives diminished. And it became clear that trying to appease these employees back when Bob Chapek did it was a big mistake for them as a company. So I'm wondering if this is actually going to happen again, where we're going to get a repeat where Disney's going to try to backpedal on this sort of thing, and as a result we're going to see them lose more money, or if they understand like, no, these employees are basically just a vocal minority in the company. Because even with Bob Chapek, there was a lot more support amongst DEI at the company, even for higher up executives when he did that sort of thing. But some of the employees against Bob Chapek were staging protests, and there really wasn't a whole lot of people, but there were some executives who have since been let go from the company, and Disney has also since tried to roll back some of the stuff in their movies, like Inside Out 2, for instance. So it looks like there's a lot less support for pushing DEI at Disney now than there was a few years ago when Bob Chapek made his apology video. So right now, it's, at least just on the surface, I think it's doubtful that Disney's going to try to appease these few employees. I think they're more inclined to maybe just fire them and get rid of and get new people, because Disney understands that they're in a business to make money, and if you're going to alienate a large portion of your audience, then that's not a good way to do that. But let's just kind of dive further into this here. So this is what it says. Recent bends by Disney's related to the court battle and diversity programs that appear to appease President Donald Trump and the MAGA crowd have left the home of the self-described happiest place on earth not so joyful for some staff. And emphasize that it's just some staff. It's not a majority of them. It's not all staff. It's just a few people who can't help that everyone isn't going to give them whatever they want all the time. Basically like a child throwing a tantrum. The moves at Disney come amid a harsh push by the new Trump administration to end DEI initiatives. And just to make it clear, that's just DEI initiatives at the federal level with federal agencies. But a lot of private companies are kind of following suit. And I think they're doing that because Trump getting elected just goes to show there's more people in this country who are against these DEI initiatives than there are that are for it. Even people who voted for Harris the last election still don't like a lot of these DEI initiatives. So I think a lot of these companies thought that was like the cultural shift, that it was going in that direction. So that's why they started jumping on board with it. And now Trump got elected again, which just goes to show like, no, these things actually aren't popular. So that's why they're trying to backpedal. In addition to defunding and banning such programs in the federal government, there have been widespread actions by Trump and his team against media companies, including Trump's now $20 billion lawsuit against CBS and the FCC, launching an investigation into Comcast's policies to end the scourge of DEI. It's like Chapek on steroids, one Mouse House insider exclaimed. a nod to the Don't Say Gay stumble in 2022. That's the one I already previously mentioned by Disney as a short-term ex-CEO Bob Chapek. And after the now Bob Iger run media giant unveiled shifts this week in its much touted diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and ML2 Global Staff Tuesday, Disney's HR chief Sonia Coleman asserted that the changes and other related moves were intended to line up with the self-declared business goals and company values. And that makes sense because Disney's job is to make money for their shareholders, and not only that, but actually employ people. And if they're going to continue to push this sort of thing, then they're really not doing their job. And there's even some belief that it should be almost a violation of a company's fiduciary duties to their shareholders if they start pushing DEI, because it's become evidently clear that that's actually detrimental for a business to do this sort of thing. Though under discussion for almost a year internally, the latest in a perceived series of walkbacks by Disney under Trump 2.0 was a hard pill to swallow for many staffers across various divisions of the company. Calling the present state of diversity initiatives at Disney uncertain, the insider added, "What's next? Where do we go from here? What do we stand for now? Keeping MAGA happy?" Well, you should be keeping MAGA happy because that's a sizable portion of the public. I mean, it's like, Donald Trump won a popular vote. So you shouldn't say like, well, we're not going to serve those people out there. It's like, well, okay, fine. You're going to be cutting off like half the country if that's what you want to do. You can't do that as a company, especially a company the size of Disney. You have to try to cater to everyone. And even though if you personally don't like them, you still have to cater to them because, that's kind of your job. And Disney executives like Bob Iger, I think they're starting to realize that. And they're like, okay, we can't risk alienating what appears to be the majority of the population. So let's just do what they want. And if that means we have to walk back this DEI stuff, then we'll walk that stuff back. This is not what I expected from Bob. I thought he had our back. Well, I guess you were wrong. I mean, maybe he has the shareholders back. Another well-positioned individual cited embarrassment over the public apology and $15 million plus Disney paid out last year to Trump's Presidential Foundation and Museum as part of a settlement reached in the then president-elect defamation case against ABC and anchor George Stephanopoulos as the beginning of the capitulation. Okay, that wasn't capitulation when they paid him $15 million. That was a legal settlement. And the reason why they settled is because they defamed him. And if they actually took that to court, then ABC and Disney understand that they probably would have lost and lost more money. So that's why they made this settlement right here. So, I mean, if you're going to call that capitulation, fine. I mean, it's easy to say the company that you work for should have fought President Donald Trump in court when your money isn't on the line and probably your job actually isn't on the line. Or I don't know, maybe it would have been on the line. What would have been funny if they actually pursued it? Trump wins and basically wins the company from them. And now this employee who wanted them to fight was working for Donald Trump. I know that wouldn't happen. I mean, I'm just imagining that though, because it's just kind of funny to think about. Along with the DEI giveaway, new disclaimers regarding what were once termed negative depictions, newly compensation metrics, and a rebranding of the Underrepresented Voices Reimagined Tomorrow program. Several longtime employees referred to the December removal of a transgender storyline from Disney Plus upcoming Pixar series Win or Lose as shocking and pandering to MAGA. And I talked about that at the time, and I've mentioned it in several other videos because Disney was pushing a lot of this LGBTQ stuff for quite a while in their children's movies and family movies and other things like that. And when they're pushing it, those movies weren't doing too well. So they decided like, okay, let's roll it back for Inside Out 2 and see how it does. And that movie made over $1 billion. So they're like, oh, well, maybe we're better off if we don't have this stuff. And then they removed it from Win or Lose and said, yeah, it's basically, we're just getting rid of it because we want families to be able to discuss these sort of things and not have to be forced to have these discussions because they took their kids to one of our movies. I think that seems like a pretty sensible thing for them to do. Let's just see how it works out for them if they're going to continue along that line. There's a strong consensus across a swath of Disney employees that the current Iger era is nothing like the last, similar to how the current Trump presidency is not like the last one either. When it seemed like the company and its leaders were comfortable taking a stance and sticking to it, contrarians be damned. In 2018, Iger was solidly behind the then ABC Entertainment boss, Channing Dungey, and her team in quickly canceling the highly rated Roseanne revival after a series of racist tweets by Roseanne. She made some jokes that were edgy. They weren't racist tweets. Iger seemed to shrug off the Twitter attack by Trump days later after the CEO called former Obama aide Valerie Jarnett to apologize for what Barr said about her. Now many insiders have grown frustrated that Disney continues to try to win over conservatives rather than take a stand on almost anything. So they're upset that they're trying to win over conservatives, win over half the population, as opposed to just disregard them entirely. This is what I mean. It's easy to say that Disney should take a stand when you personally don't have your money on the line. Like, imagine these employees, if you tell them it's like, okay, we can take a stand, but we're going to have to half your paycheck because you're saying to cut off half the population of the country and not serve them. Well, fine, we won't serve you half your paycheck. Are you okay with that? I'm sure they'd probably say no because, yeah, that's stupid to do that sort of thing. Like I said, I don't care who, if I owned a business like this, I don't care who I serve. I'll serve anyone as long as even if I disagree with them, they can be wearing shirts that are openly against what I stand for. It doesn't matter to me. Are they going to pay me for what I'm giving to them or the service that I provide? They are? Okay, fine, whatever. They can give me their money then and I'll give them whatever they need from me. That's the way it should work. But these people are so entrenched in their ideology, they can't stand that. So that's why they're trying to tell their company, no, don't cater to these people. But it looks like Bob Iger, at the very least, is probably doing the right thing. If they are indeed walking back these policies, this is the smart move from a business standpoint. And while you might get some people like this at the company who, if they really don't like it, they could quit. And if they quit, there's probably not enough of them to actually really matter. Disney would be like, okay, we'll just hire some more people, because I don't think there's really anyone important at the company who would quit as a result of all this. Like I previously said, there were some executives, or there were more executives at the company when Bob Chapek was there, that were on board with this sort of thing. But Disney has slowly kind of gotten rid of them over the last few years as things have kind of heated up in the culture war sort of thing. So the only people who are left at the company, they say they're in this article that they're kind of well placed, but I'm sure they're really no one significant. It's probably just some minimum wage cast members or something like that. Not that those people are not important for a company, but they're easily replaceable. So if they're going to be screaming like this, well, it's all for nothing, because I don't think it's really going to matter. Disney's going to continue to try to, or at least it looks like they're going to try to almost turn things around at the company. I mean, they have a lot of work cut out for them to try to earn back more of the conservative businesses that, or the conservative market that they have since alienated. But this is a step in the right direction. And what Disney should do is probably make a statement that they're not going to cater to the people who are at the company, trying to get them to turn their back on half the audience or whatever. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think Disney is just going to kind of ignore this, and we're going to hear these people continue to scream and complain on social media, but they're not going to get their way because they're just toddlers throwing a tantrum. And that's basically it. Just kind of ignore them, and eventually they'll just cry themselves out. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.